Welcome to the Personal Computer Show. Today is June the 3rd, 2020. I'm Hank Key and my colleague is Joe King. Do you know who has your personal data? Do you know how Facebook, Google, Amazon, and other big tech companies are using your personal data? Our website is pcradioshow.org. We are heard each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on prn.fm streaming on the Internet. Podcast of the program is available on prn.fm on the Internet. To listen to the live program on the telephone each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, the number is 641-793-7091. You can leave us a message with your question or comment at hank@pcradioshow.org. Windows 10 build 2004 is a disaster. Let me get straight to the point. During this stay-at-home lockdown, I have been long last getting to the pile of non-working hardware systems left for me to fix. My only condition to those who brought it to me was that I may never get to it, but I finally did get to the pile. The first system I worked on was an HP all-in-one system. The system would power on but did not boot the Windows operating system. I decided to open up the system chassis, and with this design, I give the design of this system a grade of F for failing. I had downloaded the maintenance manual and reviewed all the related YouTube segments on how to open up the system unit. One universal thread in all the YouTube reviews was, it is difficult to open up. What made it difficult was that plastic parts were latched onto each other. You have to be very careful not to snap off any of the plastic pieces. The HP system was manufactured in China. The English instructions were akin to listening to a help desk technician speaking perfect English that I did not understand. The problem turned out to be the hard disk drive was dead. I spent the next 3 to 4 hours installing another hard disk drive and getting an image of Windows 10 installed up and running on it. I then proceeded to upgrade it to Windows 10 build 1909. Up to this point, everything was fine. I left the system on and retired for the day. The automatic Windows update was left on overnight. You guessed right. Windows 10 build 2004 was downloaded automatically and the upgrade installation took place. I caught sight of the last phase of the upgrade in the early morning, so I let it proceed. Finally, the message was to restart the system. What the heck? I figured I lucked out I didn't have to do any follow-up with the latest upgrade. It was a huge miscalculation. I rebooted the system and got the blue screen of death, aka BSOD. Frustrating, but at least I had a clear idea how to repeat the procedures to get the system up and running. Before continuing, let me skip forward to a Microsoft news alert last week. While Microsoft has promised to make big changes in Windows 10, problems with the operating system continue to mount up, and now Microsoft has confirmed further warning for an already deeply troubled update. Windows 10 updates continues to cause problems. The problem, once again, is KB 455-6799. A recent Windows 10 update pushed to millions of PCs, which has already caused numerous issues, including blue screen of death, crashes, deleting user data, performance issues, broken audio, and much more. Microsoft is investigating these problems, but the company has now also confirmed on the official KB 455-6799 update page that it can break internal connections as well. Microsoft warns that the update impacts Windows 10 computers with 4G, LTE modems, and after installing it, reaching the internet might not be possible. Compounding this problem, Microsoft states that affected users are unlikely to be able to identify the cause because the network connectivity status indicator in the notification area might still indicate you are connected to the internet. With integrated 5G yet to take off, 4G LTE modems have been the dominant form of modem in PCs for years now and are very popular. They can be either bought integrated into a computer or purchased as a PCI or USB-based add-on and are sold by every major carrier. Microsoft states it is working on a resolution and will provide an update in an upcoming release, but no time frame for the fix has been given. Even if you don't use 4G LTE modem, you should still steer clear of KB455-6799. The update has already been described as wrecking PCs, and in addition to all the problems listed above, you can also add in reports of impacted gaming performance and broken web browsing pages. Consequently, if your PC is acting strangely, Microsoft strongly suggests to look for KB455-6799 and try to remove it. Now getting back to the HP All-in-One I was working on. With that blue screen of death with the 2004 upgrade, I tried to reset the BIOS setup in the system. The Microsoft Windows 10 Build 2004 upgrade, it modified the BIOS setup in such a way that I am locked out of the BIOS setup. Just this Monday, Microsoft announced that they are blocking the Windows 10 May 2020 update on lots of devices. Microsoft is preventing a large number of devices from updating the Windows 10 May 2020 update. While the software company released the update last week, Microsoft has quietly acknowledged that there are a number of known issues preventing the update from being installed on a variety of PCs. Microsoft has a list of 10 issues, and 9 of them have resulted in a compatibility hold, which stops the Windows 10 May 2020 update from being installed via the Windows Update. One issue involving unexpected errors on reboots. So if you've been checking Windows Update for May 2020 update and not seeing anything, then it's likely that your device is being blocked or throttled from updating. Microsoft has also added a warning to Windows Update over the weekend to devices that aren't ready to be updated. The HP All-in-One is now a glorified doorstop until the coronavirus pandemic ends. Then I'll be able to take it to the recycling center. Woe is me. There's a product called the Anti-5G USB stick that is for sale that protects you from 5G radiation. 5G has been hyped and carriers have begun the process of rolling out the new wireless standard, and AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint have all started to deploy their networks in the first half of this year. Though widespread availability is still a year away, and 5G will gain a foothold in a little more than a handful of cities this year. Some 5G conspiracy theorists contend that the new network generates radio frequency radiation that can damage DNA and lead to cancer, cause oxidative damage that can cause premature aging, disrupt cell metabolism, and potentially lead to other diseases through the generation of stress proteins. The latest health fears about radiation aren't happening in a vacuum. There are many concerns about 5G headlines about the dangers of electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic hypersensitivity, for example, is a hypothetical disease in which certain people experience debilitating symptoms in the presence of radiation like cell phones and Wi-Fi. But despite people claiming such sensitivities for years, systemic scientific reviews have found that its victims can't tell when they are in the presence of an electromagnetic field. A lot of unfounded talk has been circulating about 5G lately, specifically as it relates to the novel coronavirus. There is no evidence that the rollout of 5G is at all connected to the origin or spread of COVID-19. But that hasn't stopped dozens of attacks on cell towers, the proliferation of cockamamie conspiracy theories, and of course, scammers peddling bogus anti-5G products to the scared masses. There's a product called 5G BioShield USB Key. It's the dumbest thing I've heard that has made the headlines. On its website, it's described as creating a wearable holographic nanolayer catalyzer that can be used for the balance and harmonization of the harmful effects of imbalanced electric radiation. Basically, the device creates a holographic bubble that somehow protects you from the scary 5G waves for a baffling varied range of 8 to 40 meters. The BBC found that the founders of BioShield Distribution show that they were previously involved in a dubious business called Immortalis that sold a dietary supplement featuring a proprietary procedure that leads to relativistic time dilation and biological quantum entanglement at the DNA level. Boy, they can come up with some beautiful words that doesn't mean anything at all. The 5G BioShield USB key is, in fact, a regular, good old-fashioned 128 megabyte USB stick, or what we will call a thumb drive, with vaguely sci-fi words slapped onto it for marketing. Pentast Partners, a UK-based security firm, did a teardown of the device, and as you might expect, the stick is supposedly quantum holographic catalyzer technology transmitter was nothing more than a sticker that slapped on the thumb drive itself. The most disturbing thing about the USB stick, besides the fact that it costs £300 or $350, is that it's not the only bogus product out there. On Amazon, you'll find an assortment of 5G Shield products, and if you were to query 5G Shield within Amazon, it'll get you a lot of results. And it's not surprising at all that, well, maybe it is, that Amazon hasn't cracked down on these bogus products. So in light of the charlatan capitalizing on 5G-related coronavirus hoaxes, it bears repeating that 5G frequencies don't represent a greater risk than other types of electromagnetic radiation. These bogus anti-5G products are at best expensive placebos, and according to the New York Times, your skin is actually a pretty good barrier against higher frequency radio waves, including 5G. No one is catching COVID-19 from 5G cell towers. The ads and websites often claim to have scientific evidence that their radiation shields work, but the Federal Trade Commission reports there is no scientific proof that these products reduce exposure to electromagnetic radiation and warn that these products may actually increase the radiation the phones emit. Google leaves thousands of contractors hanging as it rescinds promised job offers. Big tech companies haven't been immune to the economic challenges of a global pandemic, but those hardships haven't been borne equally. A New York Times report reveals that while Google has recently added some perks for full-time staff to make working from home easier, it has also rescinded job offers for several thousand temporary and contract workers. In an email sent to contract agencies, Google said it was slowing their pace of hiring and investment and was not bringing on as many new starters as it had originally planned to do in 2020. The result is that more than 2,000 people who had signed offers to begin working for Google as contractors were suddenly left jobless in this job market, and apparently this is the second wave of rescinded offers, with the first occurring in April. To make matters worse, the Times says many of the contractors and temps were afforded no severance or financial compensation, despite the fact that Google strung them along for weeks. Complicating matters, those who accepted the offers and voluntarily left their previous jobs were left ineligible for unemployment. While it might seem like this was inevitable because of the economic downturn and heavily publicized dip in advertising, Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, has a reported $1 trillion valuation as of January this year. Google's parent company also reported $41.2 billion in revenue for the first quarter of 2020 with a net profit. Remember now, during this first quarter, they had a net profit of $6.8 billion. So while the advertising slump is real, it's pretty callous of Google to suddenly cut off contract workers that it had offered jobs to. That's especially true when you consider Google is also known for providing its full-time staffers with several perks. It makes sense that plenty of people looking for work might jump at the chance for contract work at Google, viewing it as a gateway to a potential career at one of the most recognizable companies in the world. Last year, Google employed 121,000 contractors, which make up about half of the company's entire workforce. This shadow workforce has often been treated like second-class citizens, leading some of Google's Pittsburgh office to start unionizing. Last summer, U.S. senators also called Google out on its poor treatment of contractors, penning a letter urging the company to bring on contractors full-time if they've been employed for more than 6 months. The disparity between how Google treats its non-full-time staff has also been on full display during the pandemic. In March, Google expected contractors to still commute into the office while the full-time staff was afforded the ability to work from home. CEO Sundar Pichai noted that the company would be giving full-time staff a $1,000 stipend to buy computers and office furniture to make working from home more comfortable. Google did extend some assignments for temporary workers by about 60 days through May 15th, then reduced their office schedules and committed to providing sick leave. Google efforts did nothing to help stifle contractors who were told week after week that their starting dates would be postponed, only to find out that their promised job had vanished. Google was asked for comment why it chose to forego offering severance to these workers. A Google spokesperson sent out the following statement: "As we publicly indicated, we're slowing our pace of hiring and investment, and the result are not bringing on as many new people, full-time and temporary, as we planned at the beginning of the year. We're continuing to hire in a number of strategic areas." But just remember, the first quarter of this year, when everyone, or almost everyone, had a downturn in business, Google had a profit in the first quarter of $6.8 billion. I hate to say this. They strung these temporary workers and contractors along and they screwed them. Presenting Benjamin Rockwell with his IT Pro series. His presentation is Learning Quickly While Adapting to Working at Home.
This is Benjamin Rockwell, and now it's time for business. This is where I give you little bits and pieces, little tidbits from my current and past experience of being an IT professional. I've got a number of years behind me on this, and this allows me to observe some of the different things that are going on. I will tell you that we are actually branching out in this particular category with something that's kind of new. Remote computing. And has it become the norm? And the answer is it is going to be the norm. This is going to be something where a lot of companies are going to look at this as a viable alternative to save money. Plain and simple. Your desk at the office, that piece of hardware is a matter of $300, $400, $500, $700 for that big, huge, oak desk, or maybe it's metal, or whatever it is in your chair. But even more expensive, how much is the cost for real estate? All of this space for you and your coworkers, and the kitchen, the kitchenette, the people to clean the kitchen, all of the different things that go on throughout the entire company. If your company is not already well invested in real estate, if they're renting, that's an expense they no longer have to deal with. They've reduced overhead. They no longer have to have the cleaning staff that comes around. They no longer have to pay for lighting. Let's even talk about one of the technology aspects of this. Now, your computer, they're going to have to supply your computer. They're going to have to supply your monitors, and they're going to have to supply technical support. However, what about your phone? Your phone, if you have a VoIP phone sitting on your desk, VoIP, voice over IP, this is the technology for phones for the past decade or so. Older companies had key systems. Even older phone systems were just the plain old telephone service lines. Well, so many of us really are able to move to VoIP via a Plantronics headset plugged into our computer. As a matter of fact, the company that I work for uses those. And there's a number of other companies. It doesn't have to be Plantronics, and it doesn't have to be anything all that remarkable. It's just a headset that plugs into the computer, and it's Skype phone. So we've moved in a direction where remote computing saves the company money. But it also is really cool for you to be able to work from home, isn't it? We've already discussed a number of these different things from a different set of aspects, but I'm constantly asked, are we going to be constantly at home for the entire future? Many people are. There is a certain level of we're going to have to find a balance. Some people like working from home. Some people like the ability to do all of their work via remote. It gives them a chance to decide what they want for lunch. And I've gone through a number of different options on how it's good for us. Now, the bad side of this, well, we have to be concerned about all of the different upcoming issues that we're going to have in regards to how do they measure our worth to the company. I will tell you, productivity is something for some people they're going to struggle with. It's too easy to get distracted by all of the different things that are happening around the home, all of the different things that you look around the house and you say, oh, I've got to deal with that. I've got to deal with this. I've got to deal with that. And I will tell you that there are people out there that struggle with all of the things that are around them, and they feel cooped up. For me, I've got a little bit of a different setup, so I managed to stay quite isolated from everything else around, and I managed to get a lot of work done. I no longer have people stepping up to my desk and interrupting me. I do have them interrupting me electronically and via phone and via email and all of that, and that's fine. But I can focus on that, and I can utilize the technology to my advantage versus somebody who wants to walk up to me and have a discussion in regards to whatever water cooler gossip that's going on. Other people enjoy the water cooler gossip. Other people just really find that to be great. And that's, it's a good escapist item. And we should all involve ourselves with that. So the future, remote computing, it's going to be the norm. So many different companies out there. We're hearing more and more tech companies going that direction. Now, mind you, tech companies are the leaders in this because they're already knee-deep in tech. And the companies that have had to adapt, the various jobs that have had to say, we need more hardware right away so that Susie can work from home. Yeah, we've had to deal with this. I think the higher up in a company that you go, up on into shy of upper management, the more that you're going to find that your position is going to be available to work from home. I'm enjoying this, the idea of working from home. I hope that you do too, and I hope that you manage to adapt and just embrace this. Doesn't mean you have to. Many companies are giving this as an option for all of their employees for the future. It's all going to be fun to watch. This is Benjamin Rockwell. Back to you, Hank.
Thank you, Benjamin. Windows shortcut keys. Keyboard shortcut keys in Windows are a carryover from simpler days before the Windows operating system. Released in 1979 by MicroPro International, WordStar was the first commercially successful word processing software program produced for microcomputers. It became the best-selling software program of the early 1980s. Its inventors were Seymour Rubinstein and Rob Barnaby. WordStar keyboard command list based on the WordStar version 3.0 command set. Commands that include use of the control key are entered by holding down the control key and while it's held down, typing the letter representing the command. Some commands included a second letter, which can be typed after releasing both the control key and the first command letter. The WordStar keyboard shortcuts influence other programs. When the IBM PC was introduced, we have the most famous of keyboard shortcut key, Control-Alt-Delete. Yep, Control-Alt-Delete, also known as a three-finger salute or security keys, is a computer keyboard command on the IBM PC compatible computers invoked by pressing the delete key while holding the Control and Alt keys, so you get Control-Alt-Delete. Windows 10 was designed with touchscreen in mind, but Microsoft hadn't forgotten about the more traditional PC users. The operating system comes with plenty of built-in keyboard shortcuts for those who prefer a physical keyboard. I'm one of them. The number of keyboard shortcuts in Windows 10 is literally in the hundreds. How many can you remember? You will probably only remember those Windows shortcut keys in actual use. I've only selected a few for my own use. There are three basic Windows shortcut keys. The Windows 10 logo, in other words, the thing with the window pane in the lower left-hand corner of your keyboard, are called Windows 10 logo shortcut keys. The other are the Command or Control shortcut keys. And third is the combination of the Windows 10 logo and Command Control shortcut keys and any other combination of keys. The Windows logo key, which is common on most keyboards these days, can be a powerful tool if you know the right shortcuts. It probably is the least used set of keyboard shortcuts. Windows logo key is a keyboard key which was originally introduced on the Microsoft Natural Keyboard in 1994. This key became a standard key on PC keyboards. In Windows, tapping the key brings up the Start menu. The Windows key is a standard key on most keyboards on computers built to use a Windows operating system. It is labeled with a Windows logo and is usually placed between the Control and Alt keys on the left side of the keyboard. There may be a second identical key on the right side as well. The Windows 10 logo key makes it easy to perform all sorts of tasks more efficiently, from opening system properties to cycling through programs on the taskbar to moving a window from one monitor to another. If you master even a handful of the shortcuts on this list, you'll cut a lot of time off your everyday chore. Well, these are some of my favorite shortcut keys that I use, and it's a very short list. With the Windows 10 logo shortcut keys, I use the Windows key, which is the lower left-hand key window, and I just tap on it and I get the Start menu. If I hold that down, the Windows key plus X, it opens up the secret Start menu. In other words, in Windows 10, there's really two sets of menus. One is one that appears, and the other is the extended Start menu. If I hit the Windows key plus the E key, in other words, like in Explorer, yeah, I get File Explorer. Very quick to do, easy to navigate to. If I hold down the Windows key plus the print screen, which is the one I use quite often, it takes a screenshot of the entire desktop and save it to Screenshots folder in the Pictures folder. I use this extensively when I'm watching, or whatever I'm watching, like a presentation on the screen, or like in a Zoom meeting, or someone giving a presentation. I can easily just hit the Windows key, print screen, and I just capture what is displayed on the screen. I don't have to go back and review the program again. And then there is the Windows key hitting the plus key or the minus key, and that zooms in and out with the magnifier. And to get out of the magnifier, I just hit the Windows key plus the escape key. Those are the standard keys that I use with the Windows 10 logo, shortcut keys. There are many others. In the Command or Control shortcut keys, I just use a very few from the old WordStar days. Control-C. Control plus C copies the selected information to the clipboard. Control-X cuts the selected information and puts it onto the clipboard. Control-V, it pastes the copied material from the clipboard to wherever the command prompt is. And Control-A, select all the information on the current screen. If the current screen has no text, all text inside the command prompt will be selected. And of course, my favorite one that I try not to use, only if I have to use it, is the one that everyone is familiar with, Control-Alt-Delete. Extending your wireless internet signal. You live in a studio apartment. The odds are you have wireless internet coverage throughout the apartment. On the other end of the spectrum, you live in a house with multiple floor dwellings. Running an Ethernet wire, which is a hard wire from the router to each floor landing, is not an option. The question is how to extend wireless internet coverage. There are Wi-Fi boosters and Wi-Fi range extenders. The term Wi-Fi booster was a catch-all phrase for devices that extended a Wi-Fi signal. A Wi-Fi booster now is more accurately defined as a wireless range extender. Power line or home plug adapters can even use electrical cables in the walls to rebroadcast your wireless signal. The wired connection means that a Wi-Fi extender always have a strong, dedicated connection to your network that isn't susceptible to interference. Does a Wi-Fi range extender slow down internet speed? It slows down Wi-Fi connections for devices using the extender. If the Wi-Fi coming directly from the router is slower than the internet speed, then the extender will reduce the speed of the internet for devices using the extender typically by around 50%. The Wi-Fi range extender may or may not resolve the wireless internet coverage needed if you need more than one Wi-Fi range extender. You probably should look into a mesh network. What is the difference between a Wi-Fi extender and mesh network? The difference between the two is that Wi-Fi extenders are used to rebroadcast your home router's Wi-Fi signal. Mesh Wi-Fi uses multiple nodes to create a single, big, and seamless Wi-Fi network that covers your whole home. Unlike an extender which you can add to an existing Wi-Fi network, mesh systems are typically a complete replacement for your home Wi-Fi. You can use them in tandem with your current router, but there's usually little reason to unless your ISP requires it because they provide a modem-router combination. Mesh Wi-Fi or whole home Wi-Fi system consists of a main router that connects directly to your modem and a series of satellite modules placed around your house for full Wi-Fi coverage. They are all part of a single wireless network and share the same SSID and password, unlike traditional Wi-Fi routers. Overall, mesh Wi-Fi can allow for faster speeds, smoother reliability, and greater wireless coverage for your home. They are also easy to expand, allowing you to build a local network solution that makes the most sense for your home. How does a mesh system work? Mesh nodes are small radio transmitters that function in the same way as a wireless router. In a wireless mesh network, only one node needs to be physically wired to a network connection to the internet modem. That one wired node then shares its internet connection wirelessly with all the other nodes in its vicinity. Does a mesh system replace a router? The router is what connects to the internet. The router part is the transmitting part of that connection over Wi-Fi. So while a mesh system will replace the router part, you'll still need to rely on the built-in modem. Now you might see mesh devices with multiple Ethernet ports on them. Do you need a router with a mesh system? A router, as its name suggests, seamlessly routes internet traffic between a connected modem and Wi-Fi-enabled devices such as computers or tablets. Mesh routers can help eliminate dead zones. Rather than rebroadcasting Wi-Fi signals from a single point, mesh router systems have multiple access points. Is mesh Wi-Fi better than an extender? Well, there's a huge difference in price between a wireless range extender and a mesh system Wi-Fi. Since a repeater relies on an existing network that you already have to repeat the signal, it's the only thing you need to buy, whereas a mesh network is its own entire system, replacing your entire network. However, if you find that the Wi-Fi signal is simply not reaching various points of your house at all, upgrading to a mesh network will likely be a better option. On average, networks can cost as much as $300, whereas a good Wi-Fi extender can cost as little as $50. The modem is what connects to the internet. The router part is the transmitting part of that connection over Wi-Fi, so while a mesh system will replace the router part, you'll still need to rely on the built-in modem. Now you might see mesh devices with multiple Ethernet ports on them. What's the average cost of a mesh system? An average mesh router kit will cost around $150 to $300 for a 3-node system, with each adding unit costing $75 to $150. An average traditional router costs around $100, and range extenders are from, $20 to $100. The current placement of each access point can reduce the cost of a mesh network kit. Mesh network systems are a great way to fix dead spots in your home, but how are they different from range extenders, and are they worth the extra cost? It's important to note that range extenders and mesh systems aren't a magic bullet that improves speeds in every situation. If your problem is caused by congestion from your neighbor, or a poorly placed router, or a cheap internet package with slow speeds, a mesh system isn't going to solve your problem. Mesh systems and extenders are primarily designed to solve one problem: bad signal strength. Before making an investment in a mesh Wi-Fi system, check to see if you have any signal strength issues in the places where you need to use Wi-Fi. If you don't have any dead spots, then the problem is with your internet package. If you do find dead spots, make sure your router is optimally placed out in the open in a central location. You might be able to solve your problem by moving the router instead of buying new hardware. Wi-Fi extenders typically connect to your existing wireless network, broadcast a new network name, and blindly relay traffic back to your wireless router. This usually means that you see two network names, one network offered by your wireless router and another network offered by the extender. Repeating the entire Wi-Fi signal is also inefficient. That extender merely listens to every packet and rebroadcasts it. There's no internal logic that sends packets to the right path. More importantly, though, range extenders can often slow things down. Wireless is half duplex, which means a wireless device can't send and receive information at the same time. Every device on the same channel has to take turns talking, including devices on your neighbor's Wi-Fi networks. Mesh network systems are more seamless, efficient, and quick to update, unlike an extender, which you can add to an extended Wi-Fi network. Mesh systems are typically complete replacement for your home Wi-Fi. You can use them in tandem with your current router. They're designed to replace your complicated router and extender setup with multiple identical units placed around your house that are used together. This gives them some advantage over traditional extenders. Home mesh systems like Eero, Google Nest Wi-Fi, and Linksys Velop use mesh access points, which are all aware of each other and can wirelessly forward traffic around the network as needed. They all broadcast the same network name, which enables your Wi-Fi devices like phones and laptops to roam between mesh access points as they choose. That makes the handoff much more seamless than extenders. Furthermore, because mesh units are all running the same software, they're able to relay traffic much more intelligently. That means that if you're connected to the second node on the far end of your house, it's only going to rebroadcast packets if the client in question is actually connected to it. In addition, mesh systems can overcome some of the speed problems that extenders have by using multiple radios to send and receive information simultaneously. They can use 2.4 gigahertz channel to communicate with a client, and then use their 5 gigahertz channel to relay data to other mesh access points on the network. Some mesh systems may even have 3 radios, one radio dedicated to that backhaul communication to the router, and 2 radios to communicate with laptops, phones, and other client devices. This is particularly useful when you have a lot of devices on the network. Finally, setting up and managing your network is much easier with a modem mesh system. Instead of dealing with multiple configuration pages, you can manage the entire network from one user-friendly smartphone app. Many mesh systems also update their firmware automatically, which is a huge step over most routers, which requires you to check the manufacturer's webpage for updates, download a file, and send it to your router manually. Most users don't even go through this arduous process, leaving them vulnerable to security threats. With an all-in-one mesh system, you're more likely to get regular updates, which improves usability and security. That's a huge benefit. Mesh networks are becoming more common and affordable. Presenting Marty Winston with his All Hands on Tech. Marty will be presenting a segment called Oh Say Can UVC. It sounds like science fiction ionizing radiation that can target and kill all kinds of viruses, bacteria, and germs, not just ultraviolet, like the UVA and UVC, that can mean sunburns. The hard ultraviolet of the shorter wavelength UVC bands, there's an avalanche of products taking advantage of its germicidal nature, and Marty Winston covers them all in Oh Say Can UVC.
Have you ever thought of the Earth's ozone layer as saving your life, or thought that duplicating the killer rays that it stops might also save your life? Maybe that sounds a little too blue sky for you, and it is blue to the ultraviolet. About 10% of the radiation from the sun is ultraviolet, or UV for short. UV can be confusing. You mostly hear about it in the context of sunburns, or maybe when glass windows heat enclosed spaces through the greenhouse effect, or because some display screens put out a little in the UV range, or how it can make body fluids glow for the forensics character in your favorite procedural crime show on TV. All those things involve the softer side of the ultraviolet spectrum known as UVA and UVB. They're important, but the topic right now is their armed and dangerous cousin, hard ultraviolet, known as UVC. The sun may be a source of UVC, but not to any extent you'll ever encounter. Its wavelength is too short. It doesn't penetrate Earth's atmosphere. The ozone layer has a lot to do with blocking it. Most of the UVC you'll ever encounter is man-made, deliberately. But here's a warning. It can blind you if you look straight at it, damaging your eyesight at a cellular level. It can also cause some skin damage. It's been accused of causing skin cancer because that was seen in some tests on mice, but reports of it causing skin cancer in humans are unsubstantiated. In short, don't let it shine on you, and especially don't look at it. So why do humans mess around with UVC at all? Because of that damage at the cellular level, it can kill bacteria and fungi and viruses, which makes it a key germicidal tool in sanitization. Can it kill the COVID-19 virus? I'll bet you a nickel that it can, but as of right this second, there's no authoritative testing to document that. At the same time, there's tons of testing to document that it kills long lists of other disease-carrying viruses, including many that are very similar to COVID-19. Even without this pandemic, there's been a growing presence of UVC doing germicidal deeds in consumer and consumer-facing products. Yes, also in commercial and industrial products. Remember phone soap? It was a phone charger in a closed case that had a UVC rod light inside. They sent me photographic proof back when it was new that germs were getting killed. They're still around, and they have more models than ever. In fact, they just got an editorial review product request from me for a new wireless charging model. But like so many consumer electronics products these days, there will be a delay as they wait for inventory to get produced and shipped. I use the term rod light. It's really a gas discharge tube. I don't want to confuse things. It's really not that important. Just understand it's not an LED. And it's not a fluorescent tube. Proximity Systems sent their UVC SM keyboard and device sanitizer. It's a UVC rod light on a bracket in a swiveling hood, but also with a passive infrared sensor. So it's designed to clean a notebook or a tablet or a keyboard or whatever with a timed UVC exposure, but only when it doesn't sense a human hand or body nearby. Like phones, keyboards are especially high-incidence touch contact surfaces from microorganisms. Have you ever met a dentist who didn't love lecturing you about all the germs that grow in your mouth between brushings? Bestek, that's B-E-S-T-E-K, sent their new M-Care electric toothbrush with a charging case that builds in a wireless charger, a brush head drying fan, a water drip catch cup, and a UVC brush head sanitizer. In fact, its UVC is a good example of how we treat a whole spectrum of short wavelength ultraviolet light within the UVC definition as all being one and the same thing. By definition, UVC refers to wavelengths between 200 and 400 nanometers, which is the same as 0.2 to 0.4 microns. Microns a millionth of a meter. The Best Tech toothbrush emits 1.6 milliwatts of UVC at 270 to 290 nanometers, close to the middle of that UVC part of the spectrum. So what does it take for UVC to accomplish disinfection by killing microorganisms? It ultimately comes down to two main factors: the intensity of the UVC light and the duration of the exposure. Intensity and duration. Other things contribute to those requirements, of course, like the size of the thing that's creating the hard ultraviolet light and the size of the thing that it's trying to sanitize. For a long time, the most efficient way to build UVC light sources has been the thing you heard identified as a light rod, because it is, to the eye, a very slender glass tube. It's a gas discharge tube. Works a little bit like a neon light. UVC rod lights are skinnier and often shorter than even the thinnest fluorescent lights, some as small as half a pencil or even smaller, some longer than a yardstick, but none of them is like those fluorescent UV lamps you see in a greenhouse. Those are simply deeper than blue. These UVC rod lights are today's most efficient and cost-effective way to deliver useful levels of intensity and power, but like all of lighting, you can expect an increasing presence of UVC-emitting LEDs. These UV LEDs are getting into higher intensity levels and lower cost levels, so you can expect to see them more and more often. They're more efficient, meaning they also consume less power, and they have life expectancies many times longer than the rod lights. Keep intensity and duration firmly in mind. That's the overall exposure need, how bright the UVC exposure is and how long something is exposed, intensity and duration. The things that UVC can kill are small things, like microorganisms. But there are some things that are many times bigger than microorganisms, but still too small for the eye to see without a microscope. It's kind of interesting, for example, to recognize that while UVC may be able to kill a dust mite's eggs, a relatively brief exposure may not kill dust mites. That came to light with another review product, a very impressive Raycop, R-A-Y-C-O-P, a Raycop handheld sanitizing vacuum. Yes, it has UVC, an 8-watt rod that delivers about 5.5 milliwatts, and exposures of 2 to 10 seconds duration can do 1,000 to 1 reduction in the presence of E. coli, staph, or influenza A virus, and also deny dust mite eggs any chance at hatching. By the way, for safety, it turns the UVC off if it doesn't sense being close to a surface. But it isn't just UVC. It also does 140-degree heat sanitization, which kills the dust mites, to keep them from mourning over the loss of their eggs, of course. And it cleans that up with a rotating brush and a vacuum, but it doesn't just blow everything into the room. The vacuum has a HEPA filter that traps anything bigger than 300 nanometers, 0.3 microns. Even tiny particles of smoke or nanosoot are 3 times bigger. A fast test on one mattress and sheet picked up about 1/4 cup of white powder. Probably most of that is dead skin cells, but it's a dramatic proof of performance. And UVC is good for more than just surface sanitization. Let's get airborne. Viruses like COVID-19, by the way, can remain airborne for up to 3 hours. UVC Power, that's a new company. UVC Power makes residential UVC inserts that go into the air chamber of your whole house air conditioner or heat pump, ideally near the condenser coils. It uses 17-inch long UVC rod lights, as many as 4 at a time. Yes, that's a lot of intensity, so airborne microorganisms are going to hit a fairly high death rate, even with relatively brief exposure. But remember where it is. Your household ventilation will keep sucking in all the air in every room and passing it through this germicidal ambush. So you don't need to kill absolutely everything on any one pass. You are immediately reducing the overall population of bad microbugs in your air and over time passing the survivors through over and over again. It may not ever get down to 0, But in a few days to a few weeks, there won't be much left but the ghosts. Yes, the inside air will smell better. And over time, you'll even see those condenser coils inside the air handler get cleaner. If there's a white powder, wipe it off, and they could even get shiny, which would, of course, also boost the illumination of the UVC. You know those square lights you see in office suspended ceilings, the ones that are roughly 2 feet by 4 feet square? UV Angel Air is built to replace one of those. It has an intake vent, filter, and fans on one side, an exhaust vent on the other, a flat LED light panel in the middle, and tucked in the back over the top of that light panel, an air channel with a 27-watt UVC rod light in it. It moves enough air to handle as much as a 10 by 10 room holds in about 16 minutes, or roughly 4 times an hour. Their PR firm forwarded our request to get one here for a hands-on review. Remember, in a commercial building, the ventilation system tends to blow faster and harder than a residential system, and adjunctive units like the UV Angel Air may be simply easier and less expensive to accommodate than a whole building approach. There are also standalone in-room air purifiers with various combinations of electrostatic or ionic air cleaning, filters, and UVC. But none of them have as yet hit the test bench here. If you know something that's especially interesting in that realm, drop us a note. And be careful, there are also scam products that pretend to be doing UV cleaning, but really don't. Some of them even try to fool you by shining a blue LED. UVC doesn't look blue, and a blue LED doesn't kill anything but your credit card balance. Also, even products that do produce UVC, like some early generation wands, may produce it at such low intensities that you need hours of exposure just to make a dent on sanitizing your, say, kitchen table or your desk. Intensity and duration, remember? Next time, since we're entering that time of year when air conditioners tend to fail, and since most people don't know much about what's inside them, tune in for a briefing on air conditioner basics, where the more you know, the easier it is to keep your cool.
Thank you, Marty. Public service announcements. Computer club meetings in the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut tri-state region. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, many of the computer clubs have canceled scheduled meetings. Visit our website, pcradioshow.org, to direct you to computer clubs that may have announcements of planned virtual meetings. The computer clubs have random access sessions at each of these club meetings. If you have any questions or need technical advice, the club members are more than happy to assist. All these computer club meetings are open free to the public. The New York Amateur Computer Club has an online virtual meeting via Zoom scheduled for Thursday, June 11th at 7 p.m. Scheduled are open forum meeting topics which will include working remotely from home. To receive details on accessing the Zoom meeting, visit the website nyacc.org. Our website is pcradioshow.org. We are heard each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on prn.fm, streaming on the Internet. Podcasts of the program is available on prn.fm on the Internet. If you have any questions for us, just send us an email addressed to hank@pcradioshow.org. Just a reminder, wherever you are, we come together at 7 p.m. each day to give thanks and gratitude to the medical staff and essential workers. Ring a bell or make a joyful noise to show your appreciation for all those working on the front lines. In the meantime, stay in touch and remember to do regular backups. I'm Hank Key, and on behalf of Joe King, Michael Horowitz, Marty Winston, and Benjamin Rockwell, we thank you for listening. Stay safe and healthy. Until we meet again, same time, same station next week.